As the clock struck midnight and fireworks lit up the sky, one unexpected sighting stole the spotlight and set social media on fire. Jun-Ho and Girls' Generation's YoonA were seen together in a side-by-side New Year moment that fans are now calling too close to ignore. Within minutes, short clips and photos, shared and reshared across platforms, sparked a wave of speculation, turning a seemingly simple celebration into the biggest question of the week. What exactly is going on between them? Neither star has made an official comment, but that silence has only fueled the frenzy. Online, fans are dissecting everything, from their timing and body language to who they were with and how the moment unfolded, searching for clues that might explain why the two were seen together at such a symbolic time of year. Some insist it's purely professional or coincidental, others argue the chemistry felt different, insisting there's a story the public hasn't heard yet. Curiosity peaking and rumors multiplying by the hour. One thing is clear, the new year didn't bring answers, it brought questions. And now, fans aren't just watching, they're demanding them. It started the way these stories always do, not with a press release, but with a shaky clip filmed from a few rows back, by raised phones and winter coats. A few seconds of footage. A few frames where faces are unmistakable. And then, like a spark landing in dry grass, the entire internet caught fire. Within minutes, fans weren't simply sharing the clip. They were rewinding it, slowing it down, zooming in until the pixels turned into confetti. Every movement became a message. Every pause, a confession. Look at the distance between them. One post insisted. No. Look at the timing, argued another. The debate didn't grow, it multiplied into countless threads, each certain they'd found the detail everyone else missed. Because it wasn't just that Jun-Ho and YoonA were seen in the same place, based on circulating, unverified social media posts. It was the way the moment unfolded, ordinary on the surface, yet oddly cinematic. Like a scene that wasn't meant to be filmed, until someone did. And in K entertainment, seen together is never just a sentence. It's a fuse. The new year is supposed to feel clean and bright, fresh starts, new wishes. A calendar turning over like a page. But the closer fans looked, the more that midnight moment felt complicated. Not because of anything said out loud, but because of what wasn't said at all. No clear context. No friendly wave to confirm, yes, we're here for work. Just two stars, side by side, caught in the same frame at the same time. While the internet did what it does best, fill the silence with theory. Some viewers called it coincidence. A crowded venue. A shared schedule. A perfectly normal overlap. Others called it calculated, pointing out how rare it is for top celebrities to be captured so cleanly when they don't want to be. And then there were those who focused on something else entirely, the atmosphere. The feeling that the moment was less random and more inevitable. Like a final piece clicking into place after months of whispers that never quite became headlines. If that sounds dramatic, that's because fandoms don't treat moments like this as casual. They treat them like evidence. And the evidence, in this case, did it begin on New Year's night? It began earlier, back when their on-screen chemistry had people talking. When behind-the-scenes clips went viral for reasons that had nothing to do with script pages. Back when interview questions kept circling the same topic without ever landing. Are you close? Did you become friends? The answers were always polished. Always respectful. Always careful. But careful answers don't stop curiosity, they sharpen it. That's the tension at the heart of this story. Jun-Ho and YoonA are professionals in an industry built on image. They know how quickly a rumor becomes a narrative. They know how a single photo can outrun the truth. Which is why fans are now asking the sharpest question of all, if this was nothing, why does it look like something? In the hours after the clip spread, the online mood shifted from excitement to suspicion. The playful posts gave way to timelines. People began connecting dots, comparing dates and locations like detectives chasing a case. Some insisted the New Year clip was the first time the public had seen them together for real. Others argued it was only the first time someone managed to catch it. Then the story took a turn. As the clip traveled, it also evolved. New angles surfaced. Slightly longer versions appeared. One showed a fraction of a second before the now famous side-by-side frame. Another cut a moment after. And with each new upload, the conversation didn't settle, it sharpened. Fans began arguing not just about what happened, but about what happened right before it, and what might have happened right after the camera stopped. It was as if the internet collectively sensed a missing chapter. Meanwhile, the silence from official channels became its own headline. Immediate clarification. No casual they happened to attend the same event. No denial, no confirmation. In the absence of statements, noticed voices online filled the space, and those voices were not calm. Because tucked inside the chaos were a handful of posts that didn't sound like theories at all. They read like warnings. Like someone trying to say, slow down, there's more to this than you think. One message, shared widely before it vanished, claimed the New Year moment wasn't the beginning. It was the result. And that's when the mood shifted again, from curiosity to something sharper, more uneasy. Fans stopped asking whether Jun-Ho and YoonA were simply together. They started asking why the moment felt guarded. Seemed to start too late. And too early, like someone had pressed record only after deciding it was safe. Safe from what? At first, those questions sounded like overthinking. But then more whispers surfaced, soft, consistent. Impossible to ignore. Whispers about timing. About schedules. About a detail that, once you see it, changes everything. And if you've been following closely, you already know the detail we're talking about. You just don't know what it means, yet. By morning, the clip wasn't just viral, it was weaponized. Fans had moved past the initial shock and into something far more precise, reconstruction. Threads appeared that didn't read like excitement anymore. Like investigation boards. Side-by-side screenshots. Timestamps circled in red. Arrows pointing to the smallest details, a sleeve cuff, a phone case. The angle of a shoulder. Half step forward that looked accidental, until it didn't. And then came the question that quietly changed the entire tone of the conversation. How did this footage get out so cleanly? Because the truth is, in crowded New Year settings, especially ones involving major public figures, most recordings are chaotic, blurry, and short. This one wasn't. A clear line of sight. It captured faces. It held the moment long enough for people to notice the smallest shifts in posture, the kind of shifts fans insist you only see when there's something underneath the surface. That's why the internet split into camps, fast. One side argued it was innocent, two celebrities at the same place, same night. Same celebration. Nothing more. The other side didn't buy it. They pointed to how controlled the environment looked. How the clip seemed to begin and end at oddly convenient times. How the camera moved as if the person filming already knew exactly where to aim. And once that idea landed, someone knew, the story stopped being about a New Year moment. It became about what led to it. Fans started digging through everything they could, past interviews, behind-the-scenes content, public schedules, brand appearances, even airport sightings from previous weeks. Not to prove anything definitively, because nothing was definitive, but to build a pattern, a narrative, a trail. Stories intensified as people noticed overlaps that seemed too neat to ignore, places visited within similar time frames, events that lined up like puzzle pieces, even subtle coincidences that fans insisted had happened before but were dismissed at the time because there was no proof. Then, in the middle of all that noise, another detail surfaced, one that didn't scream romance, but screamed context. In the clip and accompanying photos shared online, observers claimed they spotted signs of staff presence and crowd control that felt more organized than a casual public outing. Others argued it could simply be normal security for high-profile celebrities. But once the idea was out there, it was impossible to unsee the spacing around them, the way people behind them moved, the way the crowd seemed to part in certain frames. It didn't prove anything. Just made everything feel less random. And when moments stop feeling random, fans start asking sharper questions. This was purely coincidental. Why did it look so managed? If it was professional, why did it look so personal? If it was nothing, why did it make everyone feel like it was something? The most intense speculation didn't even focus on the side-by-side image anymore. It focused on what the clip didn't show. As multiple versions began circulating, and in at least one of them, viewers claimed there was a beat of time before the now famous moment. A fraction of a second where someone off-frame seems to step in. A slight shift in attention. A pause that feels like it's responding to something said. Suddenly people weren't just talking about where they were standing. They were talking about what might have been said, and why the audio, in many uploads, was unclear, muffled, or cut. It's when the rumor machine escalated into something darker, the idea that the internet wasn't simply witnessing a moment, it was witnessing a carefully edited moment, stripped of whatever came immediately before or after. If that's true, if the clip is only the middle of the story, then the real headline isn't that Jun-Ho and YoonA were seen together. It's that there's a reason we're not seeing the rest. As the day went on, more fan accounts posted what they claimed were context details. Some said they saw additional people nearby. Some claimed the two weren't alone when they arrived. Others suggested there was a reason the side-by-side moment happened exactly when it did. And not earlier, not later. Most of it remained unverified, screenshots without sources, posts without proof. But in stories like this, what matters isn't only what's true, it's what feels possible. And then, late that evening, a new wave hit. Not a new photo, something more unsettling. Short message spread across fandom spaces, repeating the same idea in different words. You're focusing on the wrong part. Because according to those whispers, the moment everyone's talking about wasn't the headline. It was the distraction. And somewhere, buried beneath the edits, the re-uploads, captions chasing likes, was a missing piece. A detail so small it could be dismissed in a second, unless you knew what to look for. A detail that, once understood, just raised questions. It changes what the questions are. And that is exactly where this story turns, because the next part isn't about speculation anymore. It's about what the footage almost reveals, and what happened right after. The turning point didn't come from a new clip. It came from the space between clips, the seconds everyone skipped because they were too hungry for the headline. A slightly longer upload surfaced late at night, buried under a flood of reposts. Barely noticed until someone slowed it down and pointed at the edge of the frame. At first it looked like nothing. A blur. A glint. A shape that could have been a phone, until fans started circling it, over and over. Until the blur became unmistakable. A monitor. Not a fan screen. Not a random device. A production monitor, angled low, facing inward. Exactly where it shouldn't be if this were a purely spontaneous moment. Then another detail, a piece of equipment reflected in glass for a split second, metal framing, too clean, too deliberate. And suddenly, the crowd control people had argued about wasn't just security. It was set management. That's when the entire story flipped. Because if there was a monitor, then there was a feed. If there was a feed, then there was a camera. If there was a camera, then the moment everyone was calling caught might have been captured on purpose. Online, the theories detonated. People doubled down, so it's staged, so it's fake. Others went the opposite way, if it's being filmed, it's even bigger than we thought. The argument wasn't just loud, frantic, like everyone sensed they were seconds away from the truth and terrified of what it might mean. Then our reporting reached something concrete. According to a source familiar with the situation, who requested anonymity due to confidentiality, the side-by-side moment wasn't a random New Year encounter at all. It was part of a closed, controlled filming window connected to a scheduled segment, the kind that happens quietly, with minimal public notice, to avoid leaks. And yes, that's why the footage looks unusually clean. Because the space around them wasn't empty by chance. It was kept clear. That guarded feeling fans couldn't explain. Romantic tension. It was crew timing. Here's what the source says changed everything. Jun-Ho and YoonA weren't standing together as two celebrities who happened to overlap. They were standing together as two stars who had been placed on their marks. The reason the clip begins and ends so conveniently, the reason the audio is muddy, why the crowd noise seems to swallow any conversation, is because the moment wasn't meant to be heard from a stranger's phone. It was meant to be seen, framed, lit, controlled, through the lens that wasn't supposed to be revealed. And the reveal fans have been demanding, the one they thought would be about romance, turns out to be something else. The New Year moment was tied to a project. Secret relationship. A professional collaboration, planned, protected, handled with strict discretion. The source describes a production environment where confidentiality mattered, limited movement, careful spacing, quick resets. The pause that viewers interpreted as awkwardness? That was a cue. Slight shift in attention right before the famous frame? That was someone off-camera signaling a timing adjustment. Reason the footage feels like a scene? Because, in a way, it was. And the most brutal irony is this, the internet didn't uncover a love story. It uncovered a leak. Because once that longer clip spread, fans weren't asking are they together. They were asking, what are they filming together? That's the real headline at the center of this storm. The public wasn't supposed to know they were sharing that moment at all. Not yet, not like this. When it escaped early, it didn't just ignite fan theories, it forced the industry's most carefully managed machine into panic mode. So why the silence from agencies? 'Cause silence buys time. Time to assess the leak. Time to decide whether to deny, clarify, or pivot into an announcement before the narrative spirals beyond control. And that's what makes this moment feel so electric. The internet may have stumbled onto something that was supposed to land with a clean, official reveal, trailers, press photos, headlines with polished quotes. Instead, it landed as chaos. A stolen fragment of a bigger plan. Still, even in the clearest version, one thing remains true. The reason fans can't look away isn't just because Jun-Ho and YoonA were side by side. It's because they were side by side at midnight. And symbolically soaked in meaning, fresh starts, new chapters, new stories. And now the most intense question isn't are they dating? Yes. Why did the production choose that moment, and that framing, to show them together? Because that's the detail that turns curiosity into obsession. A New Year scene is never neutral. It's messaging. It's emotion. It's a promise to viewers that something is beginning. If this really was filmed as part of a planned segment or upcoming project, then fans didn't just witness a rumor. They witnessed a teaser, accidentally. A teaser strong enough to rewrite the conversation overnight. Dangerous enough to remind everyone what K entertainment has always been built on: timing, control. Line between what's public and what's protected. For now, official confirmation remains the missing piece. But one thing has already become impossible to undo. The new year didn't just bring questions. It exposed a story that was never meant to break this way. And after that, whether it's a stage, a broadcast, or a project waiting to be announced, there's only one certainty left. When the real reveal finally arrives, feel like news. It will feel like the ending to a scene we all watched too early. And what made this New Year moment explode wasn't just who appeared in the frame, it was how the world reacted to the silence around it. A few seconds, a few images. Suddenly millions of people were reading meaning into every breath of space between two stars. And whether the truth points to a carefully planned project or something even more personal, one thing is undeniable: Jun-Ho and YoonA have once again proven the power of presence, without saying a single word. For now, the mystery remains suspended in the air like fireworks smoke, beautiful, chaotic, and impossible to ignore, until official statements or clearer context emerges. The story will keep evolving, because in an industry built on timing, the public doesn't just wait for answers. Face them. And when the real reveal finally arrives, it won't simply explain that moment. It will redefine it. The question is no longer whether fans will keep watching, whether anyone can control what happens next.